So sugar, why is it such a problem? And why has there become a necessity for people to opt for sugar-free in the last X amount of decades? Well, it all really starts with how sugar became so available in the first place. The mass availability led to the mass consumption because the price was low, which led to the mass effects and consequences of sugar consumption, mass disease and insulin resistance, diabetes, etc., inflammation in all types of ways, which led to aspartame, advantame, all these other artificial sweeteners. So let's go back in time and understand the journey of sugar. Some 2,000 years ago, sugar was really native to South and Southeast Asia, those kind of regions, India, Cambodia. Then over the next 1,500 years, its cultivation made its way around the globe. But it might come as a surprise to that extremely cheap thing we pick up in the supermarket. You might even just find it on the floor if you step out of your house for $1, £1, 1 cent, whatever, €1, 1 ruble, 1 yen. Sugar, which is extremely cheap and accessible, was once considered a luxury item. Yes, because the laws of supply and demand are what govern price more than anything else, and supply was low, demand was relatively high, so price was high. It was expensive, save for the elites. They enjoyed sweet treats. Specifically, the transatlantic slave trade was a huge catalyst in the production of sugar, which made it more available. And round about that time, production methods and production efficiency through inventions also rocketed. So it became more available and the price dropped, became more accessible. So now everybody could buy it for cheap. And so starts the issue, the problem, the dawn of sugar as we know it, and the health problems and cascade of health problems for the everyday man and everyday woman. Into the mid 20th century, sugar was being used freely, indiscriminately in baked goods and sauces, everything, you name it. Sugar was everywhere, thriving, booming, business was booming. Business was booming. Was even used in medicines, which we can all relate to. You probably remember those sweet medicines as a child where you'd fake having a headache just to get some Calpol, just to get your hands on a Nurofen, just to get your hands on a Ferroglobin. I'm dying. People had been using artificial sweeteners before to try and just have low sugar and really reduce the calorie content. People using saccharin, people using cyclamate. Now, post tooth decay awareness and its link with sugar, we started to see a rise in aspartame, which was introduced in 1965. It's one of the more common artificial sweeteners. Now, shortly after that discovery, the glycemic index discovery came out. How fast foods will spike your insulin, how fast would they raise your blood sugar levels, right? Then you ask yourself, why did the industry shift to sugar? If they knew sugar was bad, why did they pivot away from fat and shift to sugar? Well, sugar is big business, all right? And it always boils down to money. Producing sugar is a way to employ thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. So there's an economic incentive there. And lobbyists, the people with the big bucks, will sponsor studies and marketing campaigns, etc., in order to downplay the adverse effects of sugar as a means to legitimize it as a sweetheart, as a food industry sweetheart, pun intended. And that justifies the pivot away from fat and, as a consequence, the pivot towards sugar. Now, artificial sweeteners, aspartame, advantame, sucralose, etc., though they don't spike insulin, right, directly, we do know that they can affect your gut microbiome by way of affecting the ratio of good bacteria to bad bacteria, which may play a contributing role to insulin resistance, which is basically pre-diabetes. It's what you don't want. If you want to consume sugar and you want something sweet, there are enough fruits. Don't be greedy. There are tons of fruits. Or have Manuka honey, which is a ripoff. Better still, have black molasses. So the information around the effect of artificial sweeteners is lacking, which is why people think it's a fine and fair substitute for sugars. So you have your cake and you eat it, basically. You enjoy the sweeteners, you don't get any insulin spike, everything's great. But that's not how it works. I have a cousin who told me, I'm really trying to get serious with my diet. I'm taking my food seriously, I'm in the gym. I switched from Coke to Diet Coke. So I said, let me stop you right there. I said, you think diet is your ally? You merely adopted the diet. I was born in it, molded by it. How about, in all seriousness, I said, how about you just try water, okay? Maybe just have the soda on the weekend. Have the fizzy drink on the weekend. He was highly motivated, so he did. He took my advice, thank God. And he reported improved focus and less hunger. Cravings had gone down. Not completely gone and eradicated, but just less. Not the urge and compulsion to try and have a fizzy drink or eat chocolate every single day. We're encouraged to buy these foods, not necessarily verbally, but by placement, where these supermarkets place their foods. They'll put their promotion stuff in huge boxes where you can just buy Tango, Pepsi, Coke, Fanta, Sprite, and all the crap, okay? But bear in mind, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Always look at the ingredients list. We go back to the fact that we pivoted away from fat to go to sugar. And then we pivoted away from sugar to go to artificial sweeteners. So where to next? Poison, obviously. It's got to be poison next. And I'm thinking about this now. As I think about it, I reckon every single time these labs find new ingredients that are cheaper and still viable in the sense that they'll still give us the same foods we like, perhaps with a small twist. In comes the science to demonize the current ingredients, the current sweetheart. So when fat was the sweetheart, they discover, oh, sugar will be cheaper. Demonize fat, bring in sugar. Then it's like, oh, artificial sweeteners are cheaper. Demonize sugar, bring in the ASs. What's next? When they say artificial sweeteners, blah, 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 bring in the poison, they'll come up with some scientific studies as to why artificial sweeteners are bad. So you just keep going. Sweetheart, enemy, sweetheart, enemy, sweetheart, enemy. I reckon we'll circle back to fat. Just rinse and repeat.